Look, it's just floating away, just getting out of here. So I reloaded, and suddenly I was underground. I drove to the South Pole in Kerbal Space Program. How does Mr. Beast do it?
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life.
I mean, I can't really get that loud, Mr. Beast. I have roommates. So here we are at the start of our journey to the South Pole. Here's our truck. We have some flippers on the side that'll flip us over if that happens, which a lot of people were making fun of my flippers. They were saying just make a wider wheelbase, but you know what? My flippers came in handy. I flipped a lot. So on the way here, we're going to come across a couple of my first attempts. Right here is my most recent attempt before I started the Reddit challenge part of it. This was just me screwing around without anyone knowing other than my wife. But as you can see, it has a lot of solar panels on it. Looks a little crazy. Has more Kerbals on it. The flipper is a little more wild. This was my attempt at the truck, and then I think someone on Reddit suggested that I use the electrical generators rather than all the solar panels. So I redesigned, and the current truck we're driving is the truck that we ended up with. Here's our last look at the space complex fading over the horizon there. The last time they'll ever see it, unless we decide to drive them back. But who knows? I guess if you want to see me get these guys back somehow, suggest some ways that we can do that from the South Pole to the space complex there. So we are making our way north. Originally the goal was going to be the North Pole, but on my testing I realized that would be super easy, and it's probably been done before by a lot of people. So after driving about 3 hours, I thought, man, this would be a challenge to go to the South Pole. But I didn't think it would take quite as long as it did. I was thinking maybe, I was like, man, it takes like, what, 4 or 5 hours to get to the North Pole? It's got to take like 4 or 5 hours to get to the South Pole, right? No, not at all. Not at all. Here's one of our resupply missions for one of the first attempts. It was going to be the original attempt, but I didn't record it on accident. I thought I was, and then got 4 hours in and realized my OBS was not on. I quickly stopped at that plane just to see if they had anything of use to us, and they didn't. They only had a solar panel. But here is the attempt of the one I forgot to record. Again, it's the same kind of truck as the last one. It does have some cool emergency, like, police lights on the front. You can see the lights flashing there in the front. But anyway, yeah, we continue on north. That is all of our recent attempts. So 2.5 hours is what it took for me to get to that truck. I think it took me like 3.5 hours with the old truck. And then another part of the challenge is I didn't want to time warp anything. The only thing I time warped is planes, resupply planes and things like that. I didn't time warp because it wasn't the actual driving. So you will not see me time warp at all with the truck, except for at one point I time warped for a second on accident because we were crashing and I panicked. We stopped on the coast for a minute just to give Megshred Kerman a quick dip in the ocean, and then quickly hustled back to continue our journey. We didn't want to waste too much time. We suffered a few crashes on the way. Here's one of them. We took out one of our batteries that were on the bottom, and then all of a sudden the whole bottom middle panel started dropping all of the generators. I didn't really know what to do because we were pretty early on in the journey and I didn't want to have to restart. So I just kind of drove with it like that for a minute, hoping that, I don't know, something would happen. And then we crashed again, doing these sick rolls here, and that kind of shoved it back in, so I thought it would be fine. We kind of continued on for a little bit longer. And then here you see me turning on my helmet lights because we lost a headlight, so I needed some light to be able to see what was in front of us. And then I believe I quickly reload the truck just to fix any of the weird physics, which thank the Kraken that it put that middle panel back up where it belonged. So we were down some generators, we're down some solar panels, but we're still in the fight, and that's all that matters. We are testing our engines a little bit. We've used them occasionally. This was the use for them, just to get up larger hills, which in the grand scheme of things, this is a tiny little anthill to some of the mountains that we traverse. And I wish I would have conserved that fuel for for the end of the journey, but that's fine. We have resupply missions. We're allowed to resend fuel out. It just takes up more time. Not that this was like a speed run or anything, because I'm pretty sure someone on Reddit has already made it and has blown my time out of the water, but yeah. I still wanted to do it as quickly as I could. As you can see here, we're struggling with our flippers. We kind of got a little too far rolled over. I wasn't prepared for a full flip. I was only prepared for a 90-degree flip. We fix our tire real quick to see if that'll help us. We use our engines, kind of get on our side here, use our engines to flip us over the rest of the way and carry on about our journey here. One problem we had a lot of was crashing. I think it's because I had that camera mod installed, and I don't know how to install mods, and they just weren't working correctly. That's why I ended up not using them. So I was suffering from crashes a lot during this whole portion. I've had to cut a lot of reloads and things like that because it just kept happening. As the day starts, we end our day here. We've made it pretty far. As you can see in the top right corner, we've driven for about 5 hours, and that is the end of day 1. So we start day 2 on, in-game, a positive note. We're heading toward the North Pole. We're only, a few hours away. But unfortunately, at some point, this footage got corrupted along with 2 more days worth of footage, about 10 hours. I bought a MP4 converter, or not converter, but repairer, and that repaired this clip. If I slow this footage down at all, it's so shaky and laggy, it's almost unwatchable. I'm not sure what happened, somewhere between moving it from OBS, remixing it, whatever it's called, and then putting it on my other hard drive because I was running out of storage space. It got corrupted. So it ended up, the last bit of footage we have before I assume the game crashed, we were at 1 day, 1 hour and 40 minutes. But yeah, so unfortunately, this kind of feels like a failure. I lost 10 hours worth of footage. The only proof I have is a few screenshots. Screenshot at 1 day, 2 hours and 42 minutes, still on the North Pole. The next screenshot, we're at the other edge of the North Pole at 1 day, 4 hours and 32 minutes. Here's another screenshot of us, I believe, closer to the edge of the North Pole at 2 days and 9 minutes. As you can see at the tracking station here, we are a little farther from the North Pole, so we missed that leg from the North Pole to about this mountain range, which is a shame because we did this cool land bridge that was on the way. I'll put a screenshot of that on the map. I'm really sad that we missed that footage. Luckily, we have the river crossing as a big obstacle to look forward to. Again, I apologize for somehow corrupting that footage. Yeah. We are speeding across. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone on Reddit that kind of gave this idea traction and enjoyed the journey. I appreciate it. I want to thank Formosa T9 and Rick O'Kane for joining me along this journey. They also did the challenge, and I'm pretty sure me and Rick O'Kane were about tied. Formosa blew us out of the water. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this crazy thing. As you can see, I didn't have the best luck when it came to not crashing. It was because the drive key, like the wheels key, is the same key as the SAS key. And someone was telling me on Reddit that I could turn the SAS off in a way so that that doesn't work, but I could not find it for the life of me. So I just ended up remapping my W key to a different key. That way, when I was holding the W, or when I was holding the drive key, I wasn't also pressing the SAS key, and it kind of helped save some of those spiraling out of controls. Because basically what would happen is I'd go over a hill, and I'm putting all that downforce straight down, and then I just nosedive and crash and do rolls and all sorts of things. So day 6, we're kind of heading southwest because we're going over this kind of mountainous area. And surprising to say, I don't think we had very many tips on this, like tip overs or crashes. As you can see, we're missing one of our flippers in part of the front of our cabin. That unfortunately happened in the lost footage. But yeah, we're heading southwest to get around this mountain range and to head on to like the next leg of the continent. We're going, it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty hilly just because it almost looks like, I don't know how to explain it. It looks like a bullseye. It has the center ring of mountains with this pointy bit. And that's what we're driving through right now, is the center ring. And also, this is about when the rover was kind of heavy to one side. So someone commented a while ago on my initial post that this was going to be Desert Bus, and it literally became Desert Bus because I had to continuously hit the right button. Even if I used the or you can press Alt and give your add some trim in, even if I did that, it was always leaning one way or the other. Oh, here we are, approaching the barge. I didn't even realize this happened on day 6. But here's the barge. This is what was going to take us across the river. A lot of people argued that this mission to the South Pole would be null if I took this barge, but I was going to do it anyway. But as you can see, one of our flappy bits didn't want to fold down all the way. The part the car was supposed to drive on, and then it just broke off as we were driving. But it was supposed to fold down, and somewhere in the construction I messed it up. So I tried to go to a place where there was a hill that I could kind of put myself on to make it so that ramp was not as steep. So that's what I'm doing here with the barge. Driving over. But yeah, we were going to use this barge to get across. You'll see in a few moments why we decided to not do that. But I was going to do it, even though people were arguing that it would be null and void. I was like, this is... I made this challenge. I'll do what I want. I'm just kidding. But I thought it would be cool to have a barge. I don't know. I guess they won in the end. We kind of struggled to get on this. This was a very poor design. If I ever do this again, I'm redesigning this barge. Maybe that's how we'll get them back. This kind of folds up to tuck it in, because I tried to use a claw, but you'll see later why the claw didn't really work. It was not a good option. I should have used docking ports, but I didn't want to put one on the truck, and I didn't even think to add one on later. As you can see, just moments into our maiden voyage on the barge, all heck broke loose. I quickly tried to transfer all the fuel over from the barge to the rover for extra fuel, but attaching to the claw made it so when you disconnected, the camera would focus on both of them, but it would cause the barge to float off into space. Look, it's just floating away, just getting out of here. So I reloaded, and suddenly I was underground. I don't know. So basically, the people that said no to the barge, you won. The Kraken voted and said no to the barge. Here I am flying. What the heck am I flying? I don't even remember. Oh, we're flying over a plane to refuel the rover because we have a big obstacle. We have to cross this river. So I wanted to make sure we had all the fuel we could possibly have. I put a claw on this just to see what would happen, and once we transferred all the fuel and disconnected, everything was fine. So I assume, here I am putting on new headlights, by the way, very important. I put a lot of thought into those headlights. I know we needed them, they're very important. Anyway, I think the claw has a problem with collisions when you undock and you're still touching the other object. I think that's what it has problems with. But here we are going down the river. I had no idea where the next river crossing was. I was just looking around, that's why the camera's swinging all around. But then I found right about where we landed, there's this big hole, this valley, and I just sent it. I sent it. And there go the headlights. So I wasn't lying when I said I sent it. I tried to use the brakes the best I could, and I was having to babysit them, and eventually I just got impatient. But we make it down. We use our engines and our serpentine abilities to get up the top of this hill. We used all of our fuel getting to the top of the hill. So I flew the other plane. I don't show this in the video. I flew the plane farther south because I was intending to meet up with it later, but then we ended up not meeting up because I thought I might not need it. Just a little behind the scenes, I guess. But we are past the river. Day 8, the final day. We're heading south. We are on the final leg of the run to the South Pole. We have some mountainous terrain coming up that we've decided just to drive through. No mountains too big for us these days after the river crossing. So we do our classic serpentine maneuvers to get through the mountains, and then come on down the other side, and boom. we're on a big old flat land. Kerbin's known for its flat land of occasional tree. We are heading toward the final couple mountain ranges we have to pass through. This part of the journey felt the longest. Nothing was in the distance. There was nothing to look at. It was just flat land. It was the road to nowhere. It was almost like I was in the Twilight Zone and I was going to suddenly see, like, turn my camera and the space complex was going to be behind me. After sinking almost a full work week in a video game, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was ever going to end. As much fun as it was, this was really when I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I could have just not posted that thing on Reddit. We could have not told anyone about this. No one would have known. But now we're committed. I didn't think it was ever going to end. So we're heading kind of around this mountain range. I didn't think I'd be able to drive through it with our lack of fuel. We kind of already pressed our luck for the most part when it came to climbing mountains. I was really upset the sun was going down. I was like, man, I really hope we don't get to the South Pole and it's just pitch black. Like, how sad would that be? But we trekked along. The original plan when I was going to do this was I was going to stop at night, wait it out, and then continue during the day. But I kind of wanted that counter in the top corner to be accurate to the amount of time spent driving. So I just decided, screw it, we're driving at night. Hopefully no one will be upset that you can't really see as much, but you know, you can see the stars. It's beautiful. The beautiful planet of Kerbin and its 6 trees we've seen so far. But yeah, we're driving kind of more toward the coast of this continent here, which is, we're getting super close to the South Pole. We should be able to start seeing some mountains soon. Don't get too excited, those snow-capped mountains are not the South Pole. They are the final set of mountains that we're going to be passing soon. Oop. Oh! These poor guys. Oh, and then we lost our front wheel. But we're carrying on. We're almost there. Nothing's stopping us now. Here we are finally. We're kind of on the coast here. I don't know if I pan over at all. We're on the coast, between the mountains and the coast. Once again, we stopped to let Max and Kerman take a dip in the water, miles away from home, but the same water that she once swam in. We're heading through this mountain range here. This is the final mountain range, I promise. Is it? I don't even know if it is. if you look in the top corner, we are 6 days in. A Kerbal day is about 6 hours. So 6 times 6, math would tell me that's 36 hours. And then 1 more hour on top, 37 hours to drive to the South Pole. Thank you guys so much for watching all of this. If you enjoyed, consider giving a like and subscribe. Going forward, this channel is going to be dedicated to crazy challenges like this in all sorts of games, not just KSP. So if you have a challenge you'd like to see me do, leave it in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.